welcome back to the channel, guys. Hey, it's kind of a rainy day. Not much we can do outside today or going on. I know there's you could probably find a bunch of videos out there on starting a wood stove, lighting a fire, or whatever. Thought I'd sit down today and give you my take on it. Now, I use the top-down method. I don't know if you, I think it's fairly popular. Probably well heard of anyhow. I don't think it necessarily applies to everybody. Guys seem to have their own way of doing things, and myself included. But I thought I'd talk to you guys about it, kind of show you how I get my fire going on my wood stove. Today, just a little twist on it. Nothing crazy, but just an added step or two that I do usually that I haven't seen other people do. And keep in mind, I don't heat 100% with this stove. This is more of a backup for us, and emergency use. And then of course we like just sitting by a fire sometimes, so comfort, if you will, however you want to look at it. But we don't heat constantly, so this may not necessarily apply to everybody. I'm also a little funny about my stove. I don't like a dirty window. That makes me kind of crazy, so I try to do everything I can do to burn right and keep that clean. And I don't like a lot of ash buildup in my stove either. But there again, that comes back to also it's easier for me because I don't burn continuously 24 hours a day. This, like, again, this may not apply to guys that are legit heating their homes or a cabin where the stove's going all the time, 24/7, and not really getting a break. Mine doesn't burn like that, so I have the opportunity when the stove cools down to clean it out frequently and whatnot. Now, as far as the glass goes, if you're burning properly, dry wood and all that good stuff, you really don't have to worry about it too much. You'll get a little bit of a glaze on there or something, but me personally, it makes me crazy when I see stove where the glass is just black and you can barely see through it and see the fire. To me, that's part of the whole ambiance of it, and the enjoyment is to be able to see that fire and enjoy it. So without further ado, I guess I'm going to show you my first step that I do. That, like I say, some guys may not have the opportunity or ability to do this if you're heating constantly. So the first thing I like to do is get inside here. And I'll bring you guys over and show you here. So you can see there's some unburnt charcoal in here. And what I like to do is you could go pretty much anywhere. A lot of stores sell it. I personally got mine at Walmart. But this is just an aluminum kitty litter scoop. Okay. And comes in handy. It's not going to melt. Like I said, it's aluminum. So if you were doing this with hot coals, mine are not. This stove's hasn't been running about 3 days now. So what I like to do is, first off, get in here and I kind of just rake everything all to one side with it and get a pile. I typically just go to the left side of the stove. I don't know why. I'm right-handed, so I guess it's easier for me that way. So then I just go in with my kitty litter scoop and I sift out any charcoal that's left in there. See that? Anything that's of value or big enough will stay in there. And then I just kind of dump that off to the other side. And I'll go through and just keep doing that and sifting out the ash. Again, there's another little load. And I guess my reasoning behind this is, I work hard at cutting and splitting and stacking and stuff like that. I kind of like to get whatever I can get out of it, you know what I mean? That's one thing. The other thing is, charcoal ignites pretty quickly, and it's good to help get your stove going when you light up, and you know, on that first burn and get it moving. The idea is to get a quick hot fire to get your chimney warmed up as quick as possible and get that draft going. You know, you want a powerful draft and get that stove functioning the way it's supposed to. If you're dragging along and it's not coming up the temperature very quick, that's where you start getting your creosote problems and such like that. So this is just another way that I feel helps increase your chances of getting that fire going quick and hot. Like I said, this stuff catches pretty quick, and again, you're kind of using, you're getting the most out of your wood. You know, and I'm sure there's going to be people that argue, well, if you had a more efficient stove, or you were burning differently or something. I guess there's arguments that could be made that you may not have this charcoal left in here, but overall, I mean, that's it. I pretty much sifted all that out. There's my ash, and there's my pile of charcoal. So it's not huge. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but it's kind of cool. Salvage that and put that, I always put that like right in the middle of the stove. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and scoop out the ash that's in there. I mentioned earlier that I don't like to let the ash build up in my stove. I think this particular stove that I have recommends that you can burn and have an ash bed up to like 4 inches, and then they recommend a 3 to 4 inches layer down there of ash to clean it out. I don't have necessarily any proof that it helps or hurts you to have that ash in there or not have that ash in there. I feel like if it keeps building up, you're reducing your firebox space, and again, this is just me personally, but I feel like it may possibly hinder airflow around through there. I don't know. Like I say, I don't have proof of it. It's just me talking. But this is what I do. I clean it out, and again, I've already said it. I'll say it again. To those guys that are burning 24/7, you may not have this luxury or even have a concern to do something like this, but I've got a little extra time on my hands. Like I say, I don't burn other than here and there for comfort or emergency use, or, you know, supplemental heat basically. So there, I just scoop it out, throw it in my ash pan, and voila. Then just take my little kitty litter scoop, bring this all back over here to the middle of the stove. There, that's what we're left with. So from there, I just basically go ahead and start setting myself up for the top down. And if there's anybody that's watching that hasn't seen anything about this top down, the best way I could kind of describe it to you would be think of a pyramid. Not necessarily the shape, but if you start out with bigger stuff on the bottom and work your way up to smaller stuff towards the top to where you put your newspaper on, you really can't go wrong. You start out with bigger stuff, get a little bit smaller as you go up each layer, down to some little tiny kindling pieces and that to get started. And there you have it. So give me a second here. I'm going to round up a few logs to get going here to set up, and I'll show you how I stack it up and the levels, and then we'll get going here. All right, guys, so here's my first layer. You can see I kind of placed the charcoal like right in the center there, because that's where most of the airflow is going to come through on this. Your stove may be different. My particular stove, right above the door, has these vents. This is the main air inlet right here. And that comes down, and what they call that air wash system that comes right across the glass. When you close the door there, it covers over those holes and allows the air to wash right down over the window, and then it blows back into your fire and circulates through the box. So I like to have my first layer laying front to back like it is. You can kind of see it's kind of at an angle, but it kind of concentrates the airflow into the center there over that charcoal and whatnot. And then I'll go ahead and build from there. There, and it's kind of difficult to see now, but I basically put 3 little logs across going lengthwise now, and then you got that opening there that's going to again allow the air to come down from that air wash and circulate down through the wood mix, and then get that going. I'm trying to keep basically the natural flow of the stove, if you can imagine. Coming in from here, around the window, down through the fire, and circulate through. And it's just a natural, that's just the way this box wants to flow. I think most of your EPA certified stoves now with the glass fronts and that have that air wash style system. So you may be in a similar situation. But again, this is just, like I said, I know that my stove flows that way the best. So I try to make use of that while I'm getting it started. Once you get a nice hot bed of coals, it's not really as hesitate to say important, but once you got the hot coals down there, it's obviously easier for stuff to light and burn at that point. So you can see basically I'm just going to go ahead now. I'm putting a front to back layer. Obviously they're starting to get into some kindling size pieces here. This is what I'm pulling from, some smaller stuff like this. And then we'll try to find some nice thin things like this to start layering up on top of that. And you don't have to be particular. I'm kind of particular about it. That's just me. Some guys are probably just, I'm sure somebody will watch this and go, you don't need to do all that crap. But, you know, that's okay. Like I say, everybody kind of has a preference on how they like to do their stove or whatever. And if you don't feel this is for you, don't do it. Like I say, I have a little bit of a luxury. I've already explained, I'm not heating. This is not my main heat source. So I've got time to fool with it, and honestly, I kind of just enjoy doing it, so not a big deal to me. So we got some going the other way now. Now I'll throw a few more pieces front to back again. I know the lighting's kind of bad on this, guys, and I apologize. I'll get to the final product here. I'll get a light in here, and you guys can kind of see exactly what I've set up, and then and we can let it rip and see how it does here. You guys can see what it comes up as. Okay, so that's probably about as far as we go. I will throw. Now I've got small stuff like this. This will be my initial fire starting kindling smallest pieces I have. That's going to go right up at the top. And I'll just kind of sprinkle that around a little bit here. No particular order, just getting it in there. And I've got, these are just scraps basically. Little cut ends of 2x4 studs or scraps from splitting wood that fly off. I grab all those little pieces because they dry quick and they start very easily. Yeah, no treated lumber or anything like that, guys. Don't worry about that. We don't burn anything like that. So there, we just kind of sprinkle those little guys around up at the top there. They'll catch first and quickly, and then it'll start trickling down through the rest of it. And you guys can see how this method works here. All right, so my next thing will be my newspaper. And again, a lot of guys are going to go, I don't have time to fool with that, or maybe they don't want to fool with it. I see guys that just bunch newspaper up inside the stove, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not here to criticize or anything like that. However, I think that when you just ball it up or crumple it up, I think you're susceptible to it burning up quicker than it needs. So basically, what I like to do is I'll take sheets of newspaper, whole sheets, tear them in half. So it's just basically like one page. And then I roll them. And this is where people are probably going to go, I don't have time for all that or whatever. But then I just kind of curl it around, loop it around, and tie it in a knot. See that? And what happens is this will burn fast, but then when you get down to that knot, it takes longer to burn that knot, and it sits on top of that kindling, and it generates that heat, and it burns a little slower, and ensures that that kindling catches. So I'll go through and make, I don't know, however many I feel I need, or I can fit up in there, half a dozen, 8, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can do more, you can do less. The smaller amount that you do, the less chance you got of getting that hot fire. So I'll usually do 6 or 8 pieces of it and then stack that in there so that the knots all sit right on top of the kindling. See that? Doesn't really take too terribly long. It's not like this is going to be an hour-long process or anything like that. I mean, I can do this in 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, it's not a huge amount of time from start to finish. At the same time, it kind of, I feel, at least the way I've done it and doing it this way, allows you to get your initial fire going, and you don't have to reload it right away. Especially if you, like I had 4 pieces across the bottom of the stove there with the charcoal in between. And like I said, that charcoal will ignite quicker than the logs will down there, but that'll just kind of ensure you get some additional heat coming up through the center of your logs to progress your fire. And then as it burns down, you get bigger, you get bigger, you get bigger, and you have the majority of the wood at the bottom. So it's going to take several hours to burn through that before you have to think about filling it or whatever. And that's kind of the whole point of these stoves, is to efficiency, length of burn, whatnot. So I just think, again, this is all my personal take, guys. Nobody's saying this is the hands-down way to do this. It works for me. It works great in the stove. I also use this method outside for starting like campfires and that. I do the exact same thing out there in my fire pit. and it works just as well outside in that environment. That's kind of the cool thing about this. All right, so there's all my newspaper knots, and I will just stack these up into the top here, right above the kindling, and we'll be ready to start it up and see how it does. But yeah, like I said, guys, this isn't restricted to just a wood stove, and it's not even restricted to any particular kind of wood stove. You can do this, like I said, outside. I do my campfires this way, and I don't know. I like how it performs, and again, I don't mind taking a couple extra minutes. There you go. I'll go get you a light here. You guys can kind of take a look here and see what we got. Okay, guys, got a light here you can see. So to recap, down inside, there's our charcoal that we sifted out and set down in the middle. We've got logs off to either side, two off to either side for the base, and then up to our next level here, this one here, and then there's a couple more behind it. They're a little smaller, a little thinner, same length but a little thinner. And then we move our way up with the kindling. Thicker kindling on the bottom, thinner kindling, smaller and smaller as we go up, all the way up to that little tiny stuff that I was showing you, the little like scrap pieces in that, and then our knotted newspaper. So that's the final setup, and you kind of get the correlation to the pyramid effect. You got thicker on the bottom and gradually get smaller and smaller pieces up to the top to right under your newspaper. So we'll get that lit here just a few minutes, and I'll show you guys how that works. Now, give you a little background here. You can see our setup. This wood stove is in an existing fireplace. Now this goes up into our existing brick chimney. However, it is connected to a flexible stainless steel chimney liner with insulation wrapped around it, and that all slides right down through the brick chimney. So no gases are actually exposed to the brickwork itself at all. Everything goes up through that stainless steel insulated liner all the way to the top and out. I have, for my own well-being, one of the dampers. They tell you don't necessarily need it in these, but I like it for a safety factor. Kind of like an insurance policy. If you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. But it's there one way or the other. And then I keep just my personal preference. I got a thermostat on the stove, or not a thermostat, but a thermometer on the stove and on the pipe leaving the stove there. And I just like, for my own personal well-being, I kind of compare the two throughout the burn and like to see how they react differently and where they will eventually come together at some point. And then I got one of those little heat fans here that obviously operates from the temperature of the top of the stove. We'll go ahead and get the fire going, and you guys can see how this does. I just go ahead and light paper on both sides there and just let it burn into the center. And you can see that it generates some decent flames right off the bat. When I see it start to catch on the kindling there a little bit, I'll go ahead and shut the door. Some people kind of leave it, you see, if you leave it cracked, it gets pretty drafty, which is fine. I have found if you leave it that way too long, your kindling burns too quick and won't catch the other stuff, or not as easily. So I'll go ahead and do that just for a second or two, and then go ahead and shut the door and let that catch, and then it'll kind of burn at its own speed, which is good. So it's not basically, so if you keep that door cracked and then all of a sudden it gets roaring and you shut it, then all of a sudden you choke it. So I have found that if you go ahead and close the door early on and let it naturally go ahead and burn in, it seems to be a decent natural progression down through the kindling, as opposed to kind of a shock and then a choke, which then you struggle to get going, which isn't very fun. We are now 3 minutes into the burn, so I'll give you kind of an idea where we're at. You can hear things warming up in there. My top thermometer is right around 150 degrees. The bottom one usually takes probably about twice the time to get where the other one gets to. There's an air, one of the air channels for the intake is right there, so it kind of has to heat double. You can see there's already some secondary burn happening at the back there and in the middle tube. There's 3 tubes, 3 secondary tubes in there. We've got secondary ignition in the back in the center tube. Tiny bit in the front, but temperature's climbing nice. Kind of see where we're at on the stack there. Okay, you can see the kindling is starting to catch the larger logs now. We've got some flames on that. You can see some really good secondary combustion at the back tube. And this is all what they say you should be looking for is quick hot fire, secondary combustion kicking in quickly. The idea is to not see any smoke outside as quick as possible. Obviously, you're going to have some at startup, which is fine. You don't want black smoke. Black smoke is a sign of maybe wet wood or not up to temperature or smoldering. White smoke is fine. But again, you should be pretty clean up there, not see any smoke other than just, well, no smoke at all. You should just see heat waves coming out of the top of your chimney. That's ideal. So we're about 7 minutes in. You can see now we have secondary combustion on, real good secondary combustion on the back tube, center tube, and you're starting to see some pretty healthy ignition on the front tube. Our pipe thermometer is basically a little over 325 degrees there, 350 almost, which is good. We're in the clean burn zone according to the thermometer there, and we're only, again, like I said, about 7 minutes in, which is pretty good. And this is all what they kind of recommend, again, here, guys, is getting that temp up quick, getting your chimney, your flue up to temperature, so that you're not collecting creosote. The other thing this kind of does too, guys, is as each layer heats up from the top, any smoke that's generated from down below it with that wood warming up, the theory is that as it passes up through the fire above it, that it will burn that smoke, which is the whole idea of these EPA stoves, is to burn as much smoke as possible. That's therein the principle behind it, is efficiency and cleanliness. But again, that helps as that wood's warming and heating and starting to ignite, that smoke be burned through that fire. We're now at about 425 degrees. Our little fan has kicked on. Now at 100 on the stove thermometer. You guys can kind of see occasionally a little spark flies past the window there. That should kind of give you an idea. You can see how that air is circling in the firebox from front to back and so forth. Okay, so now some of the kindling in that is starting to make its way down. Try to see, you can see some of the charcoal is now starting to ignite down there. Got one or two red glowing charcoals. That stuff should start to take off pretty well now, and that'll generate some heat in between the logs on the very bottom. Get them moving. This here's about, what, 10, 11 minutes almost. You can see we're getting, kind of try to get you there. You can see getting some decent charcoal lit down there. The logs on the bottom are starting to get warm enough from the charcoal in that now that they're starting to catch. We're now at 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 500 degrees on the pipe, well into the clean burn zone. 200 on the stove there front. We'll let that chimney thermometer get up another 100, 200 degrees there, and we can start closing the vent down on the inlet vent and settle that burn in for the next several hours. Bottom logs. So we have a nice, hot, vibrant fire going. That's the idea, guys. That's the idea. $500 on the chimney, $300 on the stove front. Fans humming along. There. Nice and clean. You can see the heat waves, but you see no smoke. That's ideal, guys. Cruddy rainy day today. Alright, head back inside. Alright guys, back in the house. We're at 550 up top, 400 on the stove face, and this is what we look like inside now. Nice glowing bed down at the bottom. Everything is pretty well lit. Good secondary combustion up top. I'm going to go ahead and close this off a hair. Start dampering that down a little bit. Dampering down, probably not the correct use, but we'll slow the inlet. And that'll let our that'll kind of extend our burn time. Listen guys, thanks for coming along with this today. I hope maybe this is helpful in some way to some folks. Again, it's like I say, guys on fire kind of seems to be a personal thing almost. Maybe not for everyone. I like it. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments on it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What method do you use? And let me know if you guys want to see something on that little fan up there. We can do something like that if you'd like to. At this point though, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for coming along. I appreciate it. If you like this, give me a thumbs up, some comments. Please subscribe to the channel. Alright guys, I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks.